Man, what's cracking, gang? It's T Nasty, and today I'm back with another banger for you guys. So, what the hell we're gonna be talking about today is the nightmare matchups for every UFC champion. And before someone starts saying, "What about the women's?" I'm not talking about the women's divisions, because nobody gives a fuck. Now, what is a nightmare matchup? A lot of people define it differently, but for me, it would be someone who gives the champion trouble stylistically, and they would be absolutely scared shitless of defending against them. These people would, in my opinion, have a very good chance of becoming champion. Now, enough explaining, let's get right into it, gang. Starting off with the Flyweight champion, Alexandre Pantoja. Now, to find someone who would be a good matchup for Pantoja, we have to look at his last defense. We saw with Steve Erceg that his style was very troublesome for Pantoja. Someone who is very technical in the striking with the ability to cause damage, as well as having good takedown defense and grappling ability. This brings us to the nightmare matchup, which would be my boy Kai Kara France. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Didn't this guy just lose to Amir Albazi last year? That would be right, but he also just proved last week that he still has that killer instinct by knocking out Steve Erceg. MMA math alone would show that he can beat Pantoja after what he did to Erceg. But if you look into it, like Eddie Bravo, trust, he has very technical striking with the knockout power. Now, he probably won't be able to KO Pantoja. That dude has a crazy chin, but he will be able to do damage to him, and his cardio will come in when Pantoja gets tired and slows down like he always does. His grappling also will be enough to stop takedowns and defend any submissions Pantoja might try on him. So that's a nightmare matchup for Pantoja, Kai Kara France. Moving on to the Bantamweight champion, Sugar Sean O'Malley. Now for O'Malley, we're going to need someone who is able to be patient and find their openings. Someone who can go to the grappling, but they need to be able to catch him off guard with it, like we saw against Aljo. When he expects the takedowns, he has high-level takedown defense, but when he faced Peter Yan, he got taken down multiple times because he didn't expect him to grapple. This is why I think Corey Sandhagen will be a horrible matchup for O'Malley. I know he just lost to Umar, but who the fuck wants to see him fight for the belt? O'Malley vs. Sandhagen is a fight we have wanted for years, and I think Sandhagen still presents a lot of problems for Sean. For one, Corey is not 5 feet tall like all of Sean's other opponents. Second of all, I think his striking diversity, stance switching, and defense will be enough to make it hard for Sean to set up his offense and start teeing off like he usually does. Third of all, like I said, Corey will be able to mix in takedowns and surprise Sean by taking it to the ground when he expects him to strike. This is essentially a mirror match, but it'll make for a tough challenge for O'Malley to face off against. So yeah, after Sugar sends him a rob to the shadows, Corey Sandhagen is the next challenge I want to see for O'Malley. Next up, we got the Featherweight champion, Ilia Topuria. Now to beat Ilia, we're going to need someone who's taller than him. They got to have good boxing defense to avoid his big shots and combinations, and they have to have good takedown defense to stay away from Ilia's ground game. Now who's someone who has all this? Calvin Kattar. Now hear me out, gang. I know he just got dominated by Aljo, but that fight was so boring, I would have fallen asleep in there too. No, but seriously, you got to think, guys, that was coming off a year layoff and a nasty knee injury, so Calvin's confidence was low and his ring rust was probably at an all-time high. He just has to get his momentum back, that's all. Before that fight, he was a very hard fighter to take down and hold down. Now besides that, he has some of the best boxing skills in the whole UFC. I think his striking style will give Topuria huge problems. We saw in his fights with Chikadze and Holloway that Calvin is a junkyard dog. He has a crazy chin and can go 5 rounds at a high pace easily. I think if they ever fight, his boxing starts giving Ilia problems, so he'll have to resort to the grappling and Calvin will defend, forcing a stand-up fight where Topuria will gas out and get TKO'd late in round 4 or 5. Next up, we got the lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev. Now, to beat Islam, you're going to have to go out there and just make it crazy. You got to make it a dog fight. Islam is easily the most skilled and well-rounded fighter pound for pound, so it's going to be very difficult to go skill for skill with him. For someone to beat him, they need to be very tough, they got to keep going when he catches them, they need to have power to be able to damage and hurt Islam, and they need to have good scrambling ability and bottom game so that they don't get dominated on the ground. And overall, they just have to be fearless and put the pressure on Islam. This is why I think the nightmare matchup for Islam is Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Now this is another one y'all got to hear me out on, guys. I know this sounds crazy, but really think about it. Paddy is a scouser. He can't get knocked out. He's going to come forward with reckless abandon and swing for the fences. He has power to be able to hurt Islam, and he has a high-level bottom game. Now, he'll probably get taken down at least once, maybe twice, but I think his submission threat and overall bottom game will allow him to get up and possibly even catch Islam with a guillotine. Now, I don't think he'll be able to catch him with one of them triangles or crazy submission like that, because Islam's defense is just next level, man. But something simple like a guillotine will be effective, if not to finish, but to help him get up. The only thing concerning is that we haven't really seen Paddy show 5-round cardio, but I'm sure he's been working on that shit. And by the time he gets a title shot, he'll likely be able to push the pace. Now, call me crazy, gang, but Paddy the Baddy Pimblett will finish Islam Makhachev. Mark my words. Moving on to the welterweight champion, Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad, baby. Now, first of all, I just want to say I picked Bilal against Leon, just subtle brag. But anyway, Bilal is going to be a tough fighter to beat. I think his mindset is the strongest asset he has, except for maybe the steroids. But for real though, he is a well-rounded fighter, so most of the top 10 will struggle against him. Now, to find someone who can beat Bilal, we need a young, hungry guy who has killer instinct and can push a pace. Hear me out, guys. Jack Della Maddalena. We saw in Jack's last fight against Gilbert Burns that he has no quit in him. Even after getting taken down, he can get up and has the ability to do damage. I think Bilal will certainly take him down, but we know Bilal won't be able to get a submission or TKO him or anything like that, so Jack will definitely be able to get up. I think in the later rounds, 3, 4, 5, Jack will start putting combos together and piece Bilal up. I actually feel like this is one that would be a great matchup for Jack. I don't even know if this is a hear me out, but Bilal likes to box a little bit, so I think he'll get picked apart on the feet and get desperate, eventually getting TKO'd with an uppercut. I know most people will be backing Shavkat to get the title shot, and don't get me wrong, I'm on the Shavkat train till the wheels fall off, but I think Giacomo Della Maddalena will be the one to defeat Bilal Muhammad and become welterweight champ. Moving on to the middleweight champion, Dricus du Plessis. This freaking goofy goober is a tough one to find a nightmare matchup for, y'all. We've seen in his run to the title that he can do it all. High-level grapplers and strikers have been defeated by his wonky-ass style. It's actually admirable how far he's gotten by doing everything the complete wrong way. He's probably the best fighter with horrible technique of all time. Now, for someone to be able to beat Dricus, we're going to need someone who's just as able to keep up with the goofy shit. They got to have knockout power, and they got to have good grappling. With all that being said, I think the man for the job is Michel Pereira. Hear me out, guys. The man is wild. If anybody is going to be able to capitalize on Dricus' goofiness, it's going to be a madman like Pereira. I think with Pereira's explosiveness, timing, and speed, he'll be the one to be able to catch Dricus while he's blitzing in. I see him landing either a Superman punch off the cage or a rolling thunder kick or something like that and knocking Dricus out in the first or second round. I also think he would be able to compete with Dricus on the ground, probably find a reversal and end up on top if it ends up going down there. The only reservation I have with Pereira is his cardio. We've seen that he's evolved his game to not be as wasteful of energy as before, but I'm not fully confident he'll be able to go 5 rounds. Dricus usually slows down in the later rounds, but he has the heart of a lion, so that is for sure his path to victory in that fight. But yeah, Pereira, round 2 KO. Dricus, do not take this fight. Moving on to light heavyweight champion, Alex Poatan Pereira. Shama. Now this nightmare matchup is actually one that is already booked. To beat Pereira, we need someone who can actually match his striking ability. I think even if he gets matched up with a wrestler like Ankalaev, he'll be able to get up and use that ultimate equalizer in his power. This is why Khalil Roundtree Jr. is Poatan's nightmare matchup. I know that Khalil is far from the most deserving contender for a title shot, but that doesn't change the fact that he will give Pereira a tough challenge on the feet. First of all, Muay Thai was literally invented to be able to defeat kickboxing. It's just better. I believe Khalil will use his Muay Thai skills to defend Alex's leg kicks and set up his nasty Muay Thai combos. Khalil will not be afraid of Alex like most of his opponents are, and he will go toe-to-toe with him. It seems that Khalil may just be the kryptonite to former glory kickboxers, as he could potentially be the first man to defeat Gokhan Saki and Alex Pereira in MMA with a win here. I am a little scared due to Khalil being a fair bit chinny, but I think his striking defense and skills will hold up, and he will pick up a late KO or decision win. Now next up, we got the heavyweight champion, John Bones Jones. We all know who John's nightmare matchup is, y'all. Tom Aspinall. I mean, do I even really need to explain it? Tom is younger, faster, bigger, stronger, hungrier. I think Tom's speed and power will be way too much for John, and he would put the work on John across 5 rounds, forcing John to wrestle and eventually get submitted late. John is obviously the best fighter of all time. I just think he's past his prime, and Tom is the best heavyweight in the world right now by far. And finally, for the last one, boys, moving on to the real heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall. Now, I'll be honest, looking through the top 15 in this division, I'm having a hard time coming up with anyone who can pose issues for Aspinall, to be honest, guys. For someone to beat him, they would have to be technical and fast in order to keep up with his skills, but also have a degree of wildness, because they're not going to be able to outskill him. Then I realized, this is heavyweight. Who is someone at heavyweight that has skills and is fast while also having a wild style and crazy knockout power? The best rapper in the UFC, baby, Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rosenstruik. If there's anybody in the UFC right now who could chin Aspinall, it's Biggie Boy. We saw it against Overeem in that whole crazy run he went on when he first came to the UFC. He has clutch power when he needs it. He's also low-key riding on momentum right now on a nice little win streak. Skill for skill, obviously Aspinall is way better and probably will win, but stylistically, I believe Rosenstruik is the one man at heavyweight who will be able to find Aspinall's chin and put him out. But yeah, man, those are the guys I think could low-key give problems to the UFC champions. I stayed away from the obvious choices, so y'all got to really hear me out on this one, gang. Some of these guys are not getting the belt, let's keep it real, but The best thing about MMA is you never know what's going to happen. Now, let me know in the comments if you guys agree or disagree with my picks here, or if you guys have any nightmare matchups for UFC champs, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a subscribe. But with that, I'll see you in the next one. Y'all take it easy, gang.